Okay, so I'm Russ Howell, the mediator today. I'm the neutral guy. Ted is a lawyer for Manulife. He's the only gentleman with a tie on today. And Danielle is an executive at Manulife who is Ted's client. And between the two of them, they make the decisions for Manulife. That's everybody's here.
All right, just going to tilt the screen again, so Aaron will be out of view for a little while, but I can assure you he's still sitting here with me, and I will tilt the screen back towards him, assuming he wants to say a few words. I'm just going to go over some of the basics. Aaron will soon be 35 years old. It's very clear he has struggled with mental health in a variety of different forms for his entire life. To his credit, he persevered. Very few people stop attending high school and manage to get a university degree. Not only did he get that degree, but he secured a dream job as the landscape architect engineer at a very reputable firm. I mean, that's as good a position as you can get if you're somebody in Aaron's position. Unfortunately, there were a cascading series of events. The mental health resurfaced, and it became impossible for him to continue, and he's found himself in dire circumstances since. All of that is laid out in the brief, and I don't intend to repeat it. I've set out the plaintiff's case as best I can in the written materials, so the remainder of what I'm going to talk about is addressing what I see as some of the defense arguments, or why Manulife may not see this case the same way we do and address those points. When people talk about marked, that's a kind of designation that gets people noted to be catastrophically impaired in the car accident context. It's very significant when somebody has a marked impairment. And lastly, my personal favorite, and I don't say that to be sarcastic, but here we have Manulife's own internal psychiatrist who states, and this is the last opinion we have in the file, so that's it, that's what we're dealing with. The medical information in the APS does support restrictions and limitations such that the employee would be unable to perform his own occupational duties. That's the last opinion, and it comes straight from Manulife, and there's a whole other topic about the disclosure of that report, or rather the lack of disclosure. I appreciate that one of the concerns Manulife has, and any insurer would have in a case like this, is the lack of ongoing treatment. And I agree, if this case was identical, with the exception that Aaron was going to a psychiatrist every month and was participating in intensive treatment, that maybe it would be a different case and the insurance company would see it differently. But why hasn't he got the treatment? Well, there's a number of reasons for that. He's lived in 3 different cities since this began. He struggled to find a family doctor. Without a family doctor, you can't get referred to a psychiatrist. He doesn't have the resources to see a psychologist. He's literally had periods of homelessness where he's turned to the sex trade to survive. And to stand up at trial and say, well, we shouldn't have to pay this guy because he didn't get treatment, there's a backstory to that. There's a good reason why he hasn't had treatment. There's also the nature of his illness, which may provide an explanation for the lack of treatment. And that's not me saying that, coming up with an argument at mediation. If we look at the records, again, this personal assessment inventory, his low energy level, passivity, and withdrawal may make him difficult to engage in treatment. Even before that, Dr. Catan, again writing a report for an insurance company, it may be difficult to treat Mr. O'Neill. Well, what happened? Turns out both of these statements were correct. He's been difficult to treat. He hasn't gotten the appropriate treatment. Those are my comments. I don't want to drag it on too long, and I want to give Aaron an opportunity to speak because this has been very difficult for him. I'm approaching this on the basis of the evidence and the contract and all the legal parameters we have. But for Aaron, it's very personal. And even if you're going to disagree with some of what he says, I think it's important that you hear from Aaron and his perspective. So on that note, I'm going to tilt my screen again.
Oh, Jesus, I can't. Hearing that made me want to die. Okay? That's the first thing I'm going to say. Listening to him talk about my life and the dreams that I've had and the things that you took from me makes me want to die. The longer this goes on, the more I want to die. I want this fixed. You've destroyed my entire life that I have been able to preserve in spite of everything that's gone wrong in my life. And then you come along and do this to me. When I gave you full warning not to. When all doctors on file said not to decline this. And yet some little girl who thinks she's above doctors can decline this? No. No. I have involved many people. Mr. Métis Nation of Ontario, Autism Ontario. I spent an entire year involving people trying to prevent this from happening. Mr. McGinty, I've been to many offices, members of parliament. Métis Nation of Ontario, Autism Ontario. I spent an entire year involving people trying to prevent this from happening. Because that was the only thing that prevented me from paying for my student loan. And you said no. Why? Why isn't my medical insurer paying for my medicine? So you forced me to stop paying my student loans. Okay, great. I try to find a way to reduce my expenses. It doesn't work. I involved a lot of people. The Ottawa Housing Authority tells me that because you're a single male, Aaron, there's a 2-year waiting list for subsidized housing. I didn't have enough money to make ends meet. Everybody's telling me they can't do anything for me. These are my dreams. I have secured an amazing job. Despite what they said about fearing me, I was the one bringing in everything to that company. It was all of my work that was securing new projects. Okay? They needed me. And something happened where I could no longer work. I lost my home. I lost the roof over my head. And still, I tried to get back to work as fast as possible. I tried everything to get back to work because you don't pay enough. You do not pay enough money on my benefits. I had $4,000 a month in expenses. I could not afford your cut. I could not afford being off work. And then you tell my employer, the national manager of HR across Stantec, that you guys are not going to continue my income on January because of some issue. So you just stop paying me in the situation that I'm in, living out of my car. You just stop paying somebody after all the doctors tell you to pay them? No. And then I pursue this legally, and you make me wait this long, given everything that you know about the situation, allowing me to do the things that I've had to do to survive to get to this point. And I want to die now. I've wanted to die for a long time. Not because of the things that you've done, but because of the things that you've prevented me from replacing. I can't even replace the job that I had. Okay? It requires good credit. It requires everything to be good. I had to get security to work on huge projects in Ottawa. A lot of responsibility. You cannot replace that now. All of the work that I've had in finance as an underwriter, risk management, collections, they would look at my credit report now and they'd say, no, Aaron, we were not going to hire you. I am now employable thanks to Manulife. And as you can see from my credit rating and all of the payments, I made them all the way up until you declining my payments. Which means I did everything necessary to do it until you decided to stop paying me. And then everything crashed. And I lost everything. And from the day that everything is paid to zero, then it takes 7 years for it to fall off. And then I can look at replying to all these places that I have worked extremely hard to get to. As you can see from my personal assessment, Manulife has contributed to a lot, even before I got sick. And the exposure to this, the people that are interested in this. We have people who have autism, people who they're disgruntled about their medical expenses because of cannabis. Discrimination, that's discrimination. You can't just say, oh, we'll pay this one and not that one. Why? Why, you think you're better than all the doctors who prescribe it? No, you're not better than my doctor. Okay? Clearly. Second, we have end-of-life care. The things that I had to endure, you may not have read that part, I hope you have, but it's horrifying to see the lack of care that benefits, and everything, policies. I have waited to go to the media. I have been extremely patient. There are so many people interested in this case, and I've waited because I want to give you the opportunity to choose the right side and to fix this and to own your mistakes and to stand by your values that you put on your website and your mission statement to reshape the industry. Well, it's now is your chance, considering everything that's been going on in this world. And if you continue to make me wait, you may have a dead body on your hands, because I am at that point where I can't wait anymore for treatment.
I appreciate always hearing from the plaintiff. That's very helpful for me to understand where you're coming from and a little bit of where you've been through, because when we do read the documents, the person is a much different experience and much more important to understand. So, Ted, would you want to give us your perspective or your thoughts from Manulife's perspective?
First of all, I want to thank you, Aaron, for coming to the mediation today. I don't intend to go through our mediation brief provided to your counsel, and no doubt he's gone through it with you. I just want to say thank you for coming here today. I do want you to know that neither Danielle nor myself were involved in the decision-making that occurred with regard to this claim at its inception. We only came to the claim after the statement of claim was actually issued. We have reviewed the claim, and we have made a determination with regard to the validity of the claim, and that is what is set out in our brief. I don't want to belabor that point. I just want to say thank you for being here. We certainly come here with the intention to negotiate in good faith and see if we can reach some kind of compromise on here that will meet some of your concerns, and hopefully at the end of the day we can reach a settlement, and then you can move on with your life. Certainly I have to say this on both behalf of Danielle and myself. Neither one of us, on a personal level, want to see you harm yourself. That's the farthest thing from our mind. I appreciate you look at insurance companies as a very large, dispassionate corporate entity, but they are comprised of individuals, and certainly there is no desire on our part to make your life any worse. We do, however, have to follow through with the policy itself, and those are some of our strictures. So we're going to do our very best today, along with your council, to see if we can reach a resolution. And I just want to thank you for coming here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. So I'm going to
Do you have a
send
tissue?
you off into
I'm
the
sorry.
breakout rooms now electronically. Hopefully I don't lose anybody. I've sent you my cell phone number if I accidentally drop someone. Michael, do you need a couple minutes to debrief before I join you?
Yeah, give us 2 minutes. I'll use the call for help button.
Great, so let me see if I can make this all work properly, and we'll set. Here we go.
All right, give me 1 minute.
Okay. The last thing I'll talk about just briefly before we start talking about the case and getting the first offers on the table and that sort of thing is you talked about how you're feeling really low and the case makes you feel like you want to die. Are you not at a decent place to deal with this process today? Because if you're not in a place where you can deal with this, I'm not too comfortable moving forward. So do you think you can move forward today? How do you feel about it?
My life depends on moving forward with this.
Okay. So then you're definitely in a mental state to move forward because you need to. Is that fair?
That's fair, yeah. I don't have a choice either.
Sorry, couldn't hear
I
you.
don't have a choice. Like, my life depends on this to go through. Like, the longer that this takes, the more risk to my health is.
So I follow that. That makes perfect sense. Okay.
Yeah, and
I'm
Russ,
guessing-
Russ, I'm going to interrupt just for a second. I mean, I've obviously spoken with Aaron a number of times, not just today. And yes, this is difficult for him, but I have no doubt that he has the capacity to instruct me as his lawyer.
No, that's great. And the other thing I was going to say is, when you talk about your health, I suspect one of the things that you can do to make yourself healthier is get Manulife out of your lives. But let's see if we can do that today. So many of our clients over the years talk about having a backpack full of rocks, and the insurance company was always the biggest rock in the backpack, and they always felt better once that rock was taken out. It wasn't all the rocks, but it was at least getting one of them.
No, I want continued benefits and protection, and I want things to be fixed. I want my money that was owed to me. I want to go back on benefits until I get healed, and I want compensation for everything that I've lost because of their decision.
Right. And have you been in touch with Stantec at all about the possibility of return to work?
They know they have full instructions from me and my doctor that I will be returning to work, and I will need treatment first. And so I can't begin to even prepare when I'm going back to work until I get treatment, until I get better and back on my feet. And this is resolved because this is preventing me from seeking treatment. This is preventing me from healing. Like you've said, it's a rock in my life. Yeah, it's not allowing me to heal. I cannot heal until this is closed. But I do not want Manulife out of my life. I'm not going to lose anything else ever because of Manulife's decision. So if they think that they're going to just throw some money on me and let me disappear, it's not going to work like that. I know exactly what I want. I know what I deserve. And I know what I've lost because of their decision. And I know who was involved. And I know that there's a lot of exposure to this. And I know that at the end of the day, they need to make the right decision. Not just to protect their branding and their reputation. Like, you can't say that you're caring for customers when you've done this to your customer. It's just, all these contradictions. And it's really upset me. To see somebody treated the way that I have, to hear my story, to hear him talk about my life and know that that's my life, I couldn't even hold myself together. But I know what I want, and I know what I've lost. And I know that all of the other cases before this, you talk about all this experience you have in cases, you've never seen a case like this. This is a very unique case. So this is not to be compared to other cases. And I've already told my lawyer that as well. This is not like any of your cases you've ever tried or mediated.
Right. So you still you haven't been terminated or anything by Stantec?
No.
You're still on the books there?
I am. Yeah, and I do plan to go back on medical benefits,
Right.
get treatment, return to work, and continue my life and hope that once everything is paid off, everything will go back to normal, hopefully. I won't lose my job, for any other reason. But if I should lose my job, I will not be able to replace it.
So it's been a while though since you've been in touch with Stantec. But
No, I just talked to them the other day.
Okay, good. And all is well?
It's the same as it was. Like, nothing can be done until Manulife fixes this. So, like, they're waiting for you just as much as I am. Like, what are we going to talk about? They're like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, it's still the same.
Yeah, well, that's fine, but it's just like, not all companies act like that. That's pretty good on their behalf. If they're just waiting on your medical condition to get better to return you, that's good. Not every company does that, so I'm pleased to hear that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't fire me. And they won't. And
So
things
far,
need to
so
be
good,
resolved.
and I hope it stays that way.
Things need to be resolved. Like, I'm giving everybody the opportunity to fix things. I've been extremely patient. I've been extremely understanding of the administrative process, even though it's nearly killed me. Okay? I've been extremely patient with everybody. And in fact, I've made every single person aware prior to this. I have done everything possible to avoid litigation. And, I'm very patient. I try not to do this. I don't want to go through this. This is time consuming. This costs me money. This costs my employer money. This is not the solution I wanted. Okay, I did not want to wait 18 months to come up with, oh yeah, we should have done a better job. Like, it does not take 18 months to realize that. If they want to pay me out and have me disappear, then they can give me 2 years' salary of one employee at Manulife, which is Roy Gorey, which is $25 million. In fact, I think it's a little bit less, which is about 0.5% of their profit for 2019. So they can give their one employee, $12 million for 1 year's of salary. So I'm asking for, if you want me to just blink away, disappear, I expect $25 million. And to me, that's just 2 years' income for one employee at Manulife. Now, if you want to fix everything and say, hey, let's do these benefits, okay, $2 million. And that's just to cover the medical, the property losses, the credit report, the income over 8 years, and if anything should happen that I can't predict, any other medical things that have happened that I'm unbeknownst to me, anything. And that's just to protect me into the future. And the compensation, that he showed me, you guys have been, and I'm sure you can speak for this, but you've been doing this for a very long time. The compensation hasn't changed in a very long time. Like, let's say 30 years, 43 years, because my mom settled in court for a car accident in 1977, and she got $60,000. That was 43 years ago. And you guys are still trying to settle things for the same amount of money? When you guys are, well, not you guys, but I'm speaking to Manulife. When you guys pay your employees $12 million a year? No thanks.
Yeah, I don't know anything about your mom's case. It's hard
No,
to
I know.
compare.
It's all in the letter that they have. I've
Right.
prepared them a personal assessment. It's provided. The CEO needs to know about this case before any decision is made. Okay? Roy Gorey, some lawyer over there needs to call this guy and be like, yo, everyone's gonna, there's gonna be a lot of changes at Manulife going forward, with or without the settlement. Changes need to be made.
That's the tough part, because I don't think the folks here today have that kind of authority to change stuff at that level.
I understand that, but the things that do change this immediately without any question are public records and court cases. And this is an irrefutable case already. So, for them to go up against me in court would mean they would just lose. And I'm not paying for those court costs. And they might end up with a dead body in the end if it takes too long. And then how's that going to look? So if that court case takes 4 or 5 years and I end up dead on the street or homeless in front of the courthouse, how's that going to look for Manulife?
and Michael can agree or disagree with me in a moment, that you should disclose your level of desperation, because if they think you are hungry, they will try and starve you. So I don't think we should go to them and say, this man is desperate for a settlement today, because then they will think they can get away by starving you or dragging it out. So I'd rather not subject you.
I would actually kind of like them to do that, because then it just makes them look worse and I have more evidence against them. If they choose to do that, if that's what they choose to do, because I want an immediate solution, because I'm desperate, because these are the facts, and if that's their resolution, then they are sharks and they will suffer the consequences. Do you think the public is going to be happy with that? Do you think do you think employers are going to want Manulife to be their client after this? Ask them that. Who's going to want Manulife after this? Answer that. No one.
The whole PR thing sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So I represented a guy a number of years ago. He ended up getting, unfortunately, purely fluke. He worked for Toronto Sun. He was a maintenance guy. He ended up getting flesh-eating disease. He fell into a coma. Lost both of his legs, most of his stomach. They had to be amputated. All of his fingers, and suffered some brain damage because he was in a coma for a long time. And this company, Manulife, denied his benefits. And then he ended up with no legs and one hand missing, protesting outside Manulife's building. This is probably 25 years ago. With a sign that said, Manulife did this to me. And they're still in business. So I'm not sure the PR thing is that effective for them, because they have seen tragic stuff.
Well, I appreciate you comparing something to so long ago. But today things are very different. There's a revolution going on. People are very upset. There's a lot more homelessness right now. There's a lot more people that are dying at the end of their life right now. There's a lot more people that are struggling with their benefits. There's a lot of people that are going to lose their home because of coronavirus. There's people that are losing their businesses. There's people everywhere right now that are suffering. And if they find out that this is how Manulife is playing the game, when it comes to things that are concerning every single person across the world right now, it's very different. One thing, people are struggling right now, the whole world is, to pay their finances. And if they think for 1 second that their insurer is going to treat them the way that they've treated me, no. In fact, everybody that I've talked to cannot believe that all of this has happened. And I have facts on everything. I keep everything. I have recordings, letters, everything's in writing, all of it. Everything I've done to make it completely, I've made sure that they're completely aware. No one can say, oh, I didn't know. None of them can say, oh, I didn't know. No, it's over for them. This case is unlike anything that they've ever seen before. And it coexists with what's going on outside to millions of people right now. And a lot of people are going to feel this. And it's going to touch a lot of people. And a lot of people are going to feel unprotected. Even while they're on insurance, they're going to question, is it going to happen to me? And that's all it takes. Bad comparison.
No, I'm just saying it was a bad PR thing.
Different story, different case. Stop comparing things.
Well, unfortunately, legal people...
Well, you need to compare yourself to the future, because this is not a case anyone has ever seen. And cases from going forward are going to be different. And at the same time, I also do not want Manulife to think that this is just going to go away. Like, I don't want this to go away. I want to be protected into the future. I want to know that every person that is paying into Manulife is protected. And I really do want to give Manulife the opportunity to fix this. I really do. I want to paint them as the good guys in the end. Ideally. I don't want to discredit myself by discrediting you. That's why I've avoided the media this long. I don't want to be a whistleblower. I want to do things properly by the book. And I've done so completely from the very beginning. I have followed every procedure possible. And now we're at this point. And I'm still here making you guys fully aware of everything that I'm prepared to do. And I'm leaving the ball in your court. I know what I deserve. I know that things that they're using to create budgets is obsolete, and I'm challenging them to reshape their budgets. I'm challenging them. And if they want to challenge me in response, that's fine. At the end of the day, in order for me to fix everything, I have $450,000 in property that I've lost. And people are going to think to themselves, oh my God, will my son have to endure that? And as an adjudicator at one point, I know when exceptions are to be made. I know when there is a level of risk on the client as well as my employer to make the right decision and get an exception based on the information on file to reduce the overall risk or loss, which is what her job is, to reduce loss.
Yep.
Right? She failed miserably. And you can see in her rationale letter, I've written many rationales in my life on defending why I'm not going to give somebody money. And it has to be good. It has to be a good rationale. It has to cover everything. And hers was the most desperate thing I have ever read. It was personal. It was unprofessional. She had no idea what she was talking about. And she made a lot of medical opinions without any medical training. Even going above and beyond what the doctors said. You remember her rationale?
Yep.
It was, I would have fired her right there and then if I was her employer. I'm like, you cannot be talking to clients like this. What is this? So I'm different. I'm sorry. I'm very different. I have firsthand experience behind these places where people are making these decisions for me. I've been in behind these doors. I know how to adjudicate a file.
So where are we starting for our first offer then? Because the first offer comes from Latham.
Yeah, so I think there was two options for Manulife. The first, Aaron will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think option number one was $25 million representing 2 years of the CEO's salary, and Aaron will, they'll never hear from him again.
Mm-hmm.
Or option two is put me on claim. I maintain all coverage plus $2 million for everything lost up until today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
What we read, yeah. Right. It seems so weird to pop into people's rooms without having a knock. We do this in person, there's knocking, it's much more civilized. So I've gone to and I've convinced them to make a first offer. So their first offer is $5,000 all inclusive.
Pardon?
Their hope is
right. I understand. $5,000?
$5,000 all inclusive. Right.
Which is really pathetic because I don't have time for this, and they don't either.
The $2 million is beyond what they will pay. There's no doubt that
that is as well.
Oh yeah, $2 million. There's literally been in the history of the country, I think, one case at that level.
Okay.
They don't believe that you're the one who's going to blow the roof off and change everything. They don't see your case being outside the normal parameters.
So they're not even worried about it. They're not worried about how everybody is facing homelessness and housing market is crashing and people are going to be losing their homes who are employed and people are going to be affected by this. And this is I think this goes above and beyond what they're capable of understanding.
I don't know how worried they are because we're not their last number.
Yeah.
I know they're worried
$5,000. What do you think of that? Do you think that's funny? I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that goes both ways, right? They could say the same thing about $25 million, right?
Sure, I recognize it immediately, but I think it's really childish. I think what I've done is I've shown them something that makes them look like a fool because I've asked for only 2 years of income for one employee at the company. And they're now they're making themselves look even more foolish by considering everything down to $5,000. And I think it just shows what kind of people these are. And I would like to know if the executives were a part of that decision.
Well, Danielle.
Danielle. So Danielle was in the room when we made that decision. Now, does the CEO know about this decision of $5,000?
I wouldn't think so.
Do you think, after all of his remarks on LinkedIn about how caring he is, that that would be true to his values of responding like that to that person's entire claim that you only deserve $5,000? Do you think that is in line with Manulife's values?
I can't speak for him.
Ask them if that $5,000 offer is in line with their values. Please.
I'm not sure that.
Please, you're a mediator. That's my response. Ask
Yeah.
them if that $5,000
Hold on.
is
So-
in line with their values at Manulife.
So I'm gonna interject just for a second. So what often happens in the back and forth? No, listen. What I'm gonna say will make sense. I think information.
I'm giving them a point to make another offer based on their values at their company.
Listen to me.
Please.
Listen.
Can you please ask them to make another offer based on their values at the company? And if they think that $5,000 is indicative of their values, then please tell me.
Well, they know $25 billion is not going to happen. They
Okay,
know
I'm asking for what they believe is in line with their values at Manulife to fix this. So tell them, stop acting childish and let's get to the bottom of this. Please, I want a real solution here so that I can go home and not feel like I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
All right. So I need you to.
I'm getting really pissed off. You're wasting my time. So stop telling me anything else and go and ask Manulife, please, if this $5,000 offer is in line with their values at Manulife. And if this is their best offer. I did give you my best offer, but I'm willing to negotiate, and I've already explained that. So please, stop playing games and get them to give me their best offer in line with their values. If you need to make it explicit so that they understand that it's in line with their values at their company, so that they understand that this is not a game.
Explain to me why they should make their best offer when you're not in the neighborhood of your best offer.
The $2 million is my best offer. That's where I start. The $25 million is if you want me to just disappear and make this all go away and let you go with nothing and just disappear and not have any more, anything ties to Manulife. That's 2 years of income for one employee. That's actually not a lot. If you can justify $25 million for 2 years of income for one employee, then you can justify giving me $2 million for ruining 30 years of my life.
So your last position is $2 million? Yeah, I'm not sure where you want me to just go back and ask them to make another offer.
What I want you to do for me, please, and I've been very explicit, is to please ask them politely if that is their best offer in line with Manulife's values on how to fix the problem that they've created. Can you do that?
I know it's not their best offer. They told me they have.
I want their best offer today. Can you please get that from them?
The answer.
And now I'm asking him, and he's wasting my time. I'm asking you to go back to the client, ask them if that is their best offer based on their values on how to fix this problem that they have created. It's very simple.
So what if their answer is yes? Oh my God. Or what if their answer is no?
Get it for me. Get it for me. Tell me yes. I want to know if that's their best offer because we'll go to court tomorrow.
Well,
This will not go away when I die.
I'm hoping you won't pass away.
Oh, well, I don't either, but that's on your hands, on Manulife's hands, not mine. I'm not in control of this. I'm not the one that's extending this. I'm not the one playing games here. I'm not the one coming back with $5,000. Okay, I'm not the idiot. They are.
Aaron, we need to respect the fact that we're in an office and there's other
And
people here.
my life is endangered because of this company.
Okay, well then let's take a break then, until you can make a decision that's not.
No, he needs to go back to them and tell them what I asked him to do. Like, why are you on their side or my side?
No, I'm on your side, but I want to maintain some semblance of a
so
process.
stop speaking for them and go and ask them my question, please. You're not being very professional here. You're playing games with me just like them. You're trying to convince me to do something else that I don't want to do. I know what I want. I want their best offer. I came down here. I drove 2 hours on money that I don't have to get their best offer.
All right, Aaron, we gotta stop. I cannot.
Are you going to end this mediation?
Well, no. Here, listen to me. And
Are you going to threaten to do it?
no. But here's what.
Are
I'm
you
gonna
going to
say.
tell him?
No. Aaron,
Is he going to stop
Aaron,
and go and not going to go
Aaron,
get it?
Aaron, I'm asking you for 30 seconds so I can explain something.
Do you think I'm employable right now because of this?
Aaron, I have to have confidence as a lawyer that I can get instructions from you.
Oh my God, I've been very clear.
And
You're
that-
wasting my time.
And that when I see you get so upset, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that you're not going to make a proper
I'm concerned
decision.
that I'm not
today.
being listened to at all right now.
Okay, so what do you want to do? Yeah,
I want people to listen to me.
Okay, and my job is to advise you, right? And I'm concerned that if you advise Manulife
To give me their best offer?
to give you another offer, they'll say
No. I want their best offer. And we can go from there.
as long as you're prepared to
I want their best offer so we can go from there so we can stop wasting time.
I will go and ask them if they'll give their best offer now, which is something we usually do later. But I will go and ask them if they'll do it now.
My life depends on it. This is not like any other case.
I hear you. I will go and ask.
You tell them that. Tell them that my life depends on their best answer right now.
I will tell them that. Give me a couple of minutes. Manulife will go pretty well. I don't have a precise number, but I got a pretty good idea. But I'm not authorized to share that.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys want to put your heads together and let me know, and then come back and kind of give you some sense of where you might be willing to go, and then I can tell both sides whether I think it's worth continuing based on my knowledge from each room without weakening anybody's position.
More typical claims that have this kind of a monthly benefit amount and this kind of a diagnosis, like a lot of those typical claims, settle in the 100,000 plus cost range, maybe 130 all in, 150 all in. Like, my guess is that's sort of their rough assessment, right? Somewhere between 100 and 150.
I think that's a very good guess.
Okay. That's a strong hint. Thank you. Let me talk.
Well, I did not reveal any confidence.
No.
I just think that guess sounds outstanding.
All right. That's helpful. Thanks.
Why don't you ask the CEO? Has the CEO been made aware of everything?
I don't know, but
Okay.
he has been participating with
So
me.
then, is it even possible to leave this with the CEO of Manulife and then see if they'll settle with me in a week or so?
We can leave offers open. Yeah.
And if they stand at 70,000 against my offer, then we're going to go to court after the CEO has been made aware. And we'll let the judge decide, and we'll let the public decide, and we'll let the public decide how much Manulife is worth.
Part of your challenge, though, is you got to wait to get to court, and I know you.
And I might die in the fucking face of it too. And if that happens, then that's another pill they have to swallow. That's going to be really big and unfortunate.
I would agree with you, but it would be better for you to get it done sooner rather than.
Hey, I'm not going to be pushed into losing any more here than I've already lost. And you're already asking me to lose more than I've already lost. So I'm not going to be pushed into losing anymore.
Okay.
Why don't I paraphrase it and then Aaron will add to whatever I have to say. But I basically laid it out as we've got two options here. We can either make an offer of less than $600,000 or, in all likelihood, the mediation fails. And what Aaron sort of added on to that is, well, what about making sure the CEO knows about this case generally and the $600,000 offer, and then once Aaron's satisfied that that's been brought to the CEO's attention, he's not going to do anything between now and then, but at that point he wants to express his concerns to other outlets. I'm not sure I've described that properly, but Aaron, is that sort of how I...
Yeah, I have, you can let them know that I have already a journalist that have been pressuring me to do this. I do not like the exposure to myself. I don't like attention. But I will do it. And I want them to know that the CEO needs to be made aware of this because, and I know that they don't care about any exposure, but it is something that I think the CEO needs to decide. And since he is the one that is going to be approving everything, I think it's important for him to know. And if he understands and is fully aware of everything in this case and still comes back with $70,000, I will proceed to release the information.
Let me just say that a CEO usually isn't involved in individual cases, and I certainly can't guarantee you that they will take it up to him. They may just say this is our responsibility. Some people you can
That's okay.
imagine might take offense, like you're going over their head when it's their authority, so they may be quite resistant to that. That's the ideas around it. It's a new, novel concept to me, so I thought I'd relay it a little bit before I jumped in one way or the other. But Michael, how would you want me to format that? Is it a $600,000 offer open for a certain period of time?
What's fair? I mean,
Well, why don't we just? I know I've done enough defense work to know that it takes time for things to work their way up the food chain. So before it gets to the CEO, it would traditionally get to the vice president of claims. Russ, you've had a lot of limits cases in your days. You know it's got to go through the layers, right?
Yeah. Any hierarchy, there's a ladder. You got to climb it.
So I would say one way to do this would be to, simply put a time limit on it. Just say we'll settle all claims, costs, extra contractual damages, whatever release you want, or whatever release we can agree on rather, open for 14 days and just sort of leave it at that.